Hello, my sweet friends. Welcome back. I hope you are all doing well. Happy Wednesday to everyone. Now, I know that you all really love to create hybrid albums, and I do as well. So today we're going to go back in and find some different projects and take what is good from both of those and bring them together for one new project. Now, I'm going to be creating this wallet style, wallet fold mini album, but I'm also going to join it with traveler notebook style inserts. Now, this is not the same wallet fold that we made a couple weeks ago, and I don't know why there's so many different things with the same name, but anyway, this one is going to be a book fold here with pockets on the outside that we can put inserts into. And that will be the wallet fold portion of our hybrid, and then the inserts are going to be held in with elastic. So that will be similar to the traveler's notebook. And so we're going to be using that printable from my shop as well as scraps. Now these are pages that I have already cut into. Nothing new was used for this project. And I was able to get through that and fill those inserts all the way through. So if that sounds fun to you, then stick with me and we'll make it together. I'm going to be working with my traditional Christmas images printable from my shop today, and I really love this color combination. I think it's going to work well for many different palettes. Of course, we're working with greens and reds today, but I think you could easily pull some grays and blues out of that neutral background and make it work for that as well. So the one thing that is important with this particular printable is that you do want to go into your printer settings and change the orientation from a profile to a landscape, because it is designed to have 12 images on an 8.5 by 11 sheet. And so you do want to change that profile. Otherwise, it's going to try and print this way and your images are going to be pretty small. Another thing that you want to do is set your margins on your printer to be the smallest that your printer will allow. That way you're going to get the maximum size for these printables on one sheet. Now, if that is not going to work for the project that you want to make, you can easily still open this in a Word document and clip it down, crop it down to the image that you want to create with, and then drag that corner out, and that will size it and keep the scale perfect. And because this is a high resolution, it's going to give you a great print quality. In fact, just for funsies, I did try print this on just regular old printer paper today. You see, it is not thick cardstock, and the print quality I think is really good. It is a porous paper, so that ink is going to set in there really well, and it will look fine as long as you layer it over another cardstock like I'm doing today. And so you're going to be able to use your thick white cardstock for your base and reserve that for other projects. So here is that traditional Christmas images printable, and it is going to result in 2.5-inch squares if you set your printer settings the way I did for my project. So let's talk about that base now. I just have my piece of paper here, and now it will look similar to the wallet fold that we did for our 12 Days of Christmas series. The only difference here is we're not going to be allowing additional room for what would be very deep pockets. We're not going to be adding our inserts into that and filling that up. We're going to add our folded inserts to the spine. And so we are still going to get pockets and we still can put some inserts in it, but we really want the depth here to be in the center so that we can add our elastics and put our inserts in through that. So I'm starting with a piece of 65-pound weight cardstock. If you have 110, I think that would work just as well. Might be a little bit harder to get those long score lines in, but take your time and be careful, and you probably will be successful with that. And so I'm going to show you the score lines first, and then I'll show you where I've indicated the portions that you want to cut out. So your first score line is at 1/2 inch. And then the second one is at 5.5. The third one is at 6. The fourth one is at 11. Then you want to flip this and add your score lines going in this direction. So the first one is at 2, The second one is at 8, and the third one is at 8.5. So now I want to show you, I have indicated the portions of this paper that you would remove so that you could get that proper fold. And so I want to take off everything that I have marked through on the side, leaving this small portion here, which will become the flap for the pocket. I'm going to remove the portion between the pockets, and then this whole top corner comes out all the way up to the fold where it will be the flap on top. So I'm going to cut mine with a scissor for this demonstration, but I do find it easier to line this up on my guillotine cutter so that my cuts are very exact and precise. So you would do this, just take your time with the scissors or take it to your paper cutter and do it that way. But you see, I'm just going right in, and then I'll come around here and cut from the side, and that removes that whole top corner. And so I'll just continue doing that, removing those portions where I have them marked. You can see I have removed both of those side portions and then also the top corner. Now I want to remove the portion that comes between those pockets. And I do think it is helpful to cut just on the side of the score toward the pocket so that you can ease any additional bulk that might wind up causing this not to fold properly. So don't go crazy, just go a little bit on the side here. And I would not normally be marking the lines with a pen. It's just for the purpose of showing you here. And so I'm going to cut right along that line to where they intersect. And I think it will be much easier to go ahead and fold those pockets now. And then you'll be able to see exactly where to clip off this portion. I also want to come back in and remove this corner of the bottom of the pocket just to reduce a little bit of that bulk. So just clip that right off. Then you would fold on this score line and this one as well. And that will be secured on the back side. And you can see now we don't have any additional bulk here that will cause that to get stuck. So next you want to fold on both of these score lines. You can see we're going to have a 1/2 inch of spine. And because we have a 1/2 inch of spine, we also need that 1/2 inch on the top where the flap will cover the top of the book. So we've got that covered and everything is folded. You could easily just use your bone folder and go ahead and burnish that crease down to remove some of the bulk. But when you get that folded up now, this will go over, and then this would go over the top and be the flap. One additional element I'm adding, just because mine is made from 65-pound weight cardstock, is a piece of 110-pound cardstock, just to give me another layer of thickness here and structure, because I'm gonna string that with elastic, remember, so I want that to be sturdy. And I just came in with my Crocodile on the smallest setting and gave myself a couple holes where I can run my elastic through, and I'll just run that right up through the middle there, and that will give my spine a little bit extra thickness and sturdiness. Let's go ahead and jump to the one I have prepared, and this is made in the exact same way with those exact same measurements, and it's ready to start finishing. You're going to want to cover the back page before you seal up your pocket. And so I'm going to add the same layers of cardstock and pattern paper. The cardstock is 5 7/8 by 4 7/8, and the pattern paper is 5 3/4 by 4 3/4. And I've added the same pattern for both sides. You can mix and match however you like, but now is the time when you want to fold up your pocket here and then wrap that around and secure it onto the back. And so this is going to hold that pocket in place. And because it wraps around, you get a little bit of extra room in there for your inserts. I've also covered the flaps here, and I want to, of course, finish both the inside and the outside. The cardstock measurement is 2 7/8 by 4 7/8. The pattern paper is 2 3/4 by 4 3/4. And I'm just picking the patterns that will go with the side that it winds up to be on. Let's go ahead and finish the pocket real quick while we're working along. The cardstock measurement for this is going to be 1 7/8 by 4 7/8. The pattern paper is 1 3/4 by 4 3/4, and I have added my adhesive on the side, but it doesn't extend all the way over. I've left a little gap here because I did notch my pocket, and I don't want to accidentally seal up this pocket on this side because we do want to be able to put those other inserts in here and have plenty of room. So I'll just go ahead and add this, and you see how this pattern matches the one I added to that flap. So it's all going to coordinate. On this side, I left this portion without the adhesive. Let's go ahead and cover the outside. You can see I have a little residue from the adhesive because I assembled this in the wrong order and I forgot to do my pocket flaps first. But you won't do that because you're going to learn from my mistake on this one. But we do still have the same measurements for those full-size pages. So let's just go ahead and cover that up. And I had to join a couple different patterns for this so that I could just continue to use that paper that was already cut into, but it still matches. So I think that was going to be a great choice to get the most use out of this paper. Okay, now what we want to do is string this, and rather than the buy it once, use it for a lifetime spool that I bought, because apparently I don't know how to buy things in normal people quantities. You can get this stretch cord from Dollar General. Comes with a couple of clear ones. This one is more of a fabric elastic, and then I'm not really sure what that one is, but it is white. And so I believe this was intended to be used to make jewelry, but this will work out great because we just have those 2 small inserts that we're going to add, so it doesn't need to be bulky. We'll just run our cord now through that top hole from the inside going toward the outside, and then bring it right on back through the other hole. I'm going to hold on to it now so that I don't pull it out accidentally. Then I'll go once more from the inside toward the outside and back out, and then back through the other hole. You want to have this snug but not tight so that you don't cause your cover or your inserts to get misshapen. So I'm just going to hold that there and tie a knot, and then I will cut off the excess. You see it's snug, but it isn't too tight. And this cut string will be hidden inside one of the inserts, so it won't be really that visible. Now we've got our strings added. We want to create some folded inserts. For my insert, I have 65 pound weight cardstock. It's cut to be 5.5 by 9.5, scored at 4 3/4. And of course I want to finish that with the layers of pattern paper and cardstock. So the cardstock measures 5 3/8 by 4 5/8, And the pattern paper is 5 1/4 by 4 1/2. And matching the front and the back. And for the front, I'm just going to add an additional layering pattern. This is offcuts from the other pieces that we got into for the cover. So I figured we might as well get some use out of that. I do want to top that with a small white doily here just to neutralize a little bit of that background. And then here's the image I chose for this insert. Remember, they're going to be 2 1/2 inch squares. So my cardstock layer is going to be 2 5/8 by 2 5/8. And that just goes right in the middle there. And that is very pretty for the front of our insert. Now, when we get to the inside, I still want to have that pattern paper, but I do want to add my tip-ins, which of course are going to be those images. So I have my cardstock cut to be 2 5/8 by 3, and then I scored it at 2 5/8, so I would still get that nice even border. I decided I wanted to add 1 to each page, and I would offset them from the top to the bottom just for a little bit of extra interest. And I'll capture that by adhering it onto the back, then sandwiching it between those layers. I went ahead and cut a neutral piece of paper for the back so you could do your journaling on there, put your picture here, and have your details that go along with that. Here's the image for the left-hand side. This is a very thick insert, and it's going to add a lot of bulk to the inside of our cover. So let's just see how that looks. And we put it underneath the elastic. You see it's a little bit shorter and narrower than the cover, just so that we'd have an easier time sliding this in and out of that elastic there. So let's put the other one in. I have prepared this one in advance, but I use the same measurements in the same technique to finish that off. So when you open that cover, you're going to get 2 of these folded inserts, each with their own tip-ins. To decorate the front of the pocket, I have an additional image, and I'm still using that 2 1/2 inch square with a 2 5/8 inch square cardstock border. I have only added my adhesive to the bottom, and I also added my 2 glue combo just to keep it well secured. So I'm going to add this here and give myself a little border of that pattern paper showing along the side and the bottom. I'll do the same for this side as well. And since we have pockets, we might as well put something in them. So I've got a couple of inserts for each side, and I'm using the same measurements for the inserts here, so I can add my pictures and put a little journaling on the back and tuck that into the pocket. We'll do another set for the back as well. Now you see it has gotten nice and thick and full, and we can close that flap and work on the front cover. I've got a length of this beautiful delicate stitch satin in the lime juice color from Really Reasonable Ribbon. I have worked that around. I have wrapped that around, and I pulled that up so that I could center this bow and have it a little bit below the flap so that I can add a little bit of embellishing for that. So the first thing I'm just going to do is wrap that around and tie myself a bow. I'll come back in later and clip off the excess. But now that I know where that is going to fall, I can start working on the embellishment. And that's going to start with a die cut that I have with a scalloped edge and a stitch detail. I have cut 2 of those, and then I put them back to back so that I would have that finished pattern showing when this opens. Now, because we have trim there, I also want to add some hot glue just to make sure that we've got that trim well secured. Had a question recently about why I don't hide the ribbon between the pattern papers on the back side as well. I usually just wrap that around. Really, honestly, I just love that ribbon so much, and I want most of it to show. And so for me, it's a texture thing and an extra detail. If it makes sense to you to hide that ribbon between layers, then that would be the way that you would want to finish your project. But for me, I just really want to see as much of it as I can. Here's the image from that printable that I picked for the front flap. And you can see how it's just going to set right in the center of that circular die cut. I put that with the border again, and then also pop that up on spacers so that I could get a little bit of dimension. And I've created a flower arrangement here with just 1 large flower this time. And then I put my leaves here, netting and a bow and some additional trim that coordinates with my bow on the bottom. And I'll just put that up as high as I can without going over the edge. A couple snowflake charms to go with the whole snowman aesthetic. And put 1 on top of the raised section and 1 down lower. Tap that into some hot glue. Remove the excess string, those cut ends with a button. What is a Christmas project without some sequins? Let's add 3 right down here to the bottom corner of the printable. I use Tombow for that. I'm going to add a little bit of extra detail to that printable with some stickles, and I'll just go ahead and cover a few of these details and not go all over and crazy. And that is going to be all for our hybrid wallet fold traveler notebook insert flip book mini album with the traditional Christmas images printable from my shop. And we'll link that printable at the top of the description if you're interested in using that to create with, as well as links for our socials. If you're not already, I would love for you to join my crafty little family by hitting that subscribe button. And as always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye.